front of us we have Lorier Gemini Chronograph. It's a watch that has been part of my collection for about 3 months, and today I'm going to review it and give you my thoughts on this timepiece. Here are a few key specs. It has a diameter of 39 millimeters. It's about 47 millimeters from one lug to another. It has a lug width of 20 millimeters and it's about 12.5 millimeters thick. The case and the bracelet are made out of stainless steel. It has a domed Hasselite crystal, 50 meters of water resistance. The watch is powered by the Seagull ST19, a manual wind movement, and it has a price of $499. Lorier is a micro brand that has been on my radar for a long time. I actually reviewed one of their watches back in the day, and I actually borrowed that watch from my friend Chris. Recently, my friend Chris got one of these watches, the Lorier Gemini. I met him for a coffee, and he was gonna let me borrow his Gemini for a review. When I took his watch, put it on my wrist, I instantly gave it back to him because I decided that I'm going to buy one for myself. I didn't want to borrow one, I wanted to own one. Something about this watch really appealed to me. The first thing that I noticed was the design. I love that vintage-inspired Panda Chronograph look that this watch is going for. From the pump-style chronograph pushers, to no crown guards on the crown, to the drilled lug holes on the case. I believe that every company that does a vintage inspired watch should do drilled lug holes. It just makes your life so much easier and it makes the watch more true to its vintage roots. The finishes on the stainless steel case are executed really well. We see an all brushed finish except for a few high polish chamfered edges along the lug. That chamfered edge goes all along the sides of the case and it looks really good. It plays with the light well. We see a signed crown at the 3 o'clock position. It's signed with Lorier logo. It's a simple push style crown, so it's not a screw down crown since the watch only has 50 meters of water resistance. That's okay for a chronograph. I mean, you're not gonna go swimming with your chronograph anyways. The crown is nice and big, which is important since you will be using this crown quite a bit. The watch is not automatic, it is manual wind, and you will have to wind it at least once every couple of days. Having big oversized crown with nice grip and knurling just makes your life so much easier. Speaking of winding the watch, as I mentioned earlier, this one is powered by the Seagull ST19 manual wind movement. It's a pretty good affordable chronograph movement. With 24 joules, it beats at 21,600 beats per hour and it has a 42-hour power reserve. And I have a suspicion that Lorier actually does a bit of regulating with these movements because this one is beating within 6 seconds per day, which is very accurate. I really like that Lorier actually went with the mechanical movement instead of going with a mecha quartz movement like a lot of other micro brands in this price category have done. Nothing wrong with mecha quartz movements, but there's just something so special about winding your watch almost every day and about the feel of mechanical pushers. Even though mecha quartz movements come pretty close with the feel of their chrono pushers, they're still not as satisfying to operate as a true mechanical chronograph pushers are. I feel like the chrono pushers on a chronograph are as important to the overall experience of the watch as the bezel action is on a diver watch. It's something that you will be interacting with every day, and it's important to have nice tactile feedback on the chrono pushers. This watch also has a 12-hour GMT bezel. It's a bi-directional 24-click bezel with the aluminum bezel insert. The bezel action is actually pretty solid. It has firm and confident clicks, no backplay whatsoever, and the grip on the bezel is okay. It has this coin edge finish, so it's not the easiest to grip. However, I don't really know how often you will be turning this bezel in the first place. Even though this Lorier is fairly thin, the dial still has quite a bit of depth to it. The first thing you notice are these applied hour marks. Nothing really too special about them. They don't have like an amazing finish or anything. They're all executed in high polish. Still looks really nice and plays with the light well. Loom pips at the edges of each one of these hour marks. Then we see the 2 sub-registers for the chronograph and the running seconds hand. The one at the 9 o'clock position does the running seconds hand. The one at the 3 o'clock position does the minutes for the chronograph. Both of the sub-registers are actually sunken in or recessed into the dial, which again helps with that 3-dimensional look of the dial. And I like the concentric circles there. Again, just gives a little bit more visual interest to this otherwise pretty simple and clean dial. Even though I really love the look of this watch, I love the look of this clean Panda dial, the watch critic in me cannot help but suggest one improvement to the look of the watch. I would change the color of the seconds hand to match that blue font on the dial. I think baby blue seconds hand would add that little extra X factor to otherwise very beautiful looking watch. For a chronograph, this watch has plenty of lume. Here's a lume shot for your reference. One element of this watch that I found divisive in watch community, but even divisive within me, is this Hasselite domed crystal. On one hand, it is very in keeping with the vintage inspired heritage of this watch, and also it gives the watch this nice warm feel. On the other hand, I can't help but want a more durable sapphire crystal instead. But what do you guys think? Hasselite or sapphire? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Moving on to the fit on the wrist. I love how this 39mm case diameter fits. It's nice and comfortable. It feels great. It doesn't feel undersized in any way. Here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist. I have sort of a medium to larger size wrist, and I think the watch still looks killer. It's a fairly thin watch as well, only 12.5mm, including the domed Hasselite crystal. On the wrist, it just disappears. It curves and hugs the wrist in all the right places. The bracelet feels nice and substantial. A lot of times when I wear this watch, I even forget that I'm wearing it. That's how comfortable it is. Lastly, let's talk about the hardware on the watch. It has this stainless steel bracelet, all brushed finish on the bracelet, no polished accents except for a couple of chamfered edges on the clasp. And overall, the bracelet is of a great quality. The bracelet links are chunkier than you would expect, but somehow it all works. They also have these sharp angles which play with and reflect the light in interesting ways. All of the links are held in place with screws, and Lorier even includes a screwdriver in the package for easy resizing. Now, where my complaints with the bracelet lie are with this clasp. The clasp is just a little bit too loose for my preference. It rattles a bit too much. And I know what they're going for, that vintage feel, but for a watch of this quality, of this attention to detail, I was hoping for something a little bit better, and hopefully future versions of this watch would have an improved clasp. If you can't tell by now, I really like this watch. I think Lorier did a fantastic job with this chrono, and especially for a watch in this price category, it has so much going for it. Sure, it's not a perfect watch, but very few watches are. In fact, I think, and this will be very controversial, I think that this watch here is the better version of Tudor Black Bay Chronograph that we got. Don't get me wrong, Tudor Black Bay Chronograph is still better than this watch in so many ways. However, if you have one on your wrist, and I have tried them on the wrist, they're a bit awkward, a bit too top heavy, and overall proportions just seem off. I also really dislike that snowflake hour hand on a chronograph dial. It just doesn't feel right. This watch here sort of combines the Tudor Black Bay 58 smaller case, slimmer case, with the Panda look of the new Black Bay Chronograph. And it kind of makes it best of both worlds. If Tudor made a watch like this, thinner, smaller, with the same Panda dial, I would be all over it. As it is right now, I think this here is the better version of Tudor Black Bay Chronograph. Prove me wrong, but that's just how I feel. After having both of the watches on my wrist, I prefer this. And especially for the price point. This is $500. I mean, it's just a no-brainer to me. It's a more comfortable watch and it wears better than the Tudor Black Bay Chronograph, which is saying a lot because I do love Tudor. In fact, I have a Tudor on my wrist right now. If you're curious, this is a Tudor Royal. I still haven't done a review. That video is to come in the future. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss it when it does come out. Of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this Lorier Gemini. Do you agree that it wears and looks better than the Tudor Black Bay Chronograph, or do you think I'm crazy? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching this review. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
over here. It's over here. I found it. It's over here.